Your style, your flavor, make the city rock. They must say the season come out with a bang. Coach Minzy, best round here. Remember that.
Pleasant evening to everyone right across the track and field sphere. This is Coach Minzy, and welcome to another edition of the Coach's Desk. We're happy that you're here. Thanks very much for tuning in. Welcome to the folks over there on Facebook. We appreciate you. We thank you for tuning in. Well, I'm seeing some questions throwing out already. Persons are ready to hear from the Olympian, the world champion. Yes, Ato Boldon. Wow, what a massive interview this is going to be, people. I know you have been waiting. There are many times folks have had asked if we can't get Ato on this show. Well, this is the moment you have been waiting for, and they say, come at the man, come at the hour. All right. So, people, I encourage you to like up the live, like up the stream, share it on your platform because we want a lot of persons to come over here and hear the story from Ato Boldon himself. All right. So, again, the golden rule is to like up the stream, people. And I just want to let you know that we're in for a good time. So, without further ado, I'm going to be introducing you to world champion, Trinidadian fast man, four-time Olympic medalist. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Ato Boldon.
Thank you.
All right. Atto, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Coach Minzy. Good to be here with you and with your viewers slash listeners.
Thank you very much, and it's good to have you here. Definitely, this is one of the programs that we have here on the coach's desk. We dubbed it From Track Side, and well, obviously, you can see in the background we're basically on the track. We're not on the side of the track. All right. So, how are you doing, Coach Boldon?
I am good. Briana is two meets into her season. She has another one this weekend, the Milrose Games, which should be a good test. And then the following weekend, she's also back in New York to run at the New Balance meet. So it looks like, it looks like she's off to a very good start. She equaled her personal best in her very first race. So we'll see. We weren't really thinking about indoors this year, but as usual, practice starts to get monotonous, and you think, all right. Let me let her go and race against other people.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be delving more into that Briana situation because the folks over here they want to ask some questions where Briana is concerned. But before we go any further, Coach Boldon, talk to us about your early years growing up in Trinidad and Tobago.
I think I grew up in a utopia. Middle class family in a very nice house on a hill. Both parents university educated, and they put very high demands on me from a very, very young age. The street that I grew up on is called Jabari Hill. That's my middle name. We were the first house on that land, and therefore we got to name it. But for me as a young child, I grew up thinking everybody lived the way I did. Everybody grew up with living on a hill that's named for them, and going off to the United States every summer. As I grew up, I realized that I really grew up not nowhere close to being a silver spoon in my mouth, but I had a very, very very lovely upbringing in Trinidad. Trinidad was the kind of place back then where life was good, crime was low, everything worked. And yeah, so for 14 years, I think I lived a very charmed life in Trinidad before I left for the United States at 14.
Awesome. And before you left to the United States, were you um involved in anything track and field? Because I noticed there were some talks about you being a footballer, So talk to us about the track and field slash football thing
The track and
in
field
your
thing was
early
never
years.
supposed to happen because I, like everybody else that age in those years, I was trying to be the next Diego Maradona or
Mm-hmm.
whoever were the stars at the time. It wasn't until I moved to New York and then kind of got discovered. But the truth is, I had run in Trinidad, but I always said I was always good enough to make the final and then get eighth. So I have distinct memories of being at my school sports and them calling my name over the loudspeaker to report to the 100 final, and I was like, because I'm the eighth fastest in that race, and I'm not gonna show up for that. So yeah, all my dreams, all my athletic dreams were to play football early, and
Mm-hmm.
then they realized, oh, so he has some world class speed, but that didn't really get discovered until I moved to New York and was going to high school there, and then they discovered, okay, he has some world class speed.
Okay, good. But initially, like you said, everybody in that era wanted to be a a, a Diego Maradona. So
Yeah.
track and field was the furthest thing from your mind.
Yeah, it really was because I hadn't fallen in love with the sport yet. I mean, I like to run and I was always above average speed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think track and field is so difficult to train for that I think something has to spark the flame. And nothing had
True.
sparked the flame then. That the sparking of that flame would come in 1991. I was now in the United States for about 2 years, and I was watching TV during the summer and just kind of flipping channels and turned on ABC at the time and watched the World Championships long jump final with Carl Lewis versus Mike Powell.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because Mike Powell became one of my really good friends, and we have UCLA in common. Um, that competition and watching that, amazing world record be set still obviously exists today. I think is what that when I saw that competition, I said that is what I want to do. Obviously, I was not a long jumper, but I just looked at it and I said, I am in love with that sport. And from there, I started to be a lot more serious about my track and field.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we understand that you were playing some football over there in the United States. And one coach saw you and said, "No, man, this youngster is quick. We got to get him on the track team."
I would play. I mean, I always say my athletic gifts came late, so I was probably playing on the left or right wing and just absolutely leaving defenders in my wake. So I think
Mm-hmm.
there's no way you could have watched me play and now this kind of newfound speed at 14, 15, 16, and not say, okay, you have to at least try to sprint,
Absolutely.
because it really was kind of remarkable to watch somebody with that level of speed on a football field. But I don't have any, what ifs and wondering. Well, what might have been, obviously Dwight York, who's one of my friends, ended up
Right.
being an amazing striker. But I don't look at his career and go, oh yeah, that could have been me. I feel like I got pulled into track and field at the right time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to make my contribution to my sport and obviously to my country's history.
And your contribution was equally rewarding. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I was my country's first world champion
Mm-hmm.
in track and field. I did, I did some things which had never been done before, both individually and globally. But I think the thing I am most proud of is that if you ask the generation that followed mine, Darrell Brown and Richard Thompson and Mark Burns and even some of this generation, they will say it is by watching Atto sort of, every year bringing home medals and trying to win that elusive Olympic gold medal, when we decided that's what we wanted to do. So I think of all forget the medals and the accolades and the history for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that really, I think, as an almost 50-year-old man now, that gives me a great sense of pride is listening to the younger folks sort of say, yeah, Atto is the reason that we got involved in the sport.
Right. And not only that, Otto, there was this swag about you on the track, you being on the track, as well as you talk about athletics or athletes' technical ability. You're one of the finest. Oh wow. He got kicked off there. All right, we're holding on. We definitely have him back. Definitely have him back. Probably his phone rang or so. All right, he's coming back.
I don't know what that was. I think it was from my side.
Okay,
that's
no
my
problem.
Sorry.
Yes, as I was saying, you were seen as one of the athletes with a remarkable technical ability. In other words, you're seen as one of the finest in the sport. So I mean, athletes wanted to be like you in terms of winning the medals that you'd have brought in, but I think more so the swag that you brought to the sport as well as the technical way in which you sprint. Because trust me, you had a very very good form and a phase throughout the race. You had all of that. So yeah, I guess they were interested in that as well.
Well, I believe that all of that gets you into the party. The question is, can you dance? So you show up, you have the glasses and the earring, and you have this vibe about you. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to sprint. You have to be able to actually accomplish the job. And I think for me, it sort of colors how I look at this generation. There's certain sprinters that have all the hype in the world, but you look at their resume and you go, but he or she hasn't done anything yet. And I think that's the difference in this social media world, where you can be very popular and you haven't actually done anything yet.
Right.
And that certainly was not the case when I showed up. So it's a little different now, I think, for athletes across the board, not just in track and field.
Right. Now, after being discovered and you ventured into track and field full time, you started to reap rewards early because you capped 2 World Junior title, CAC title. Talk to us about that. What really went through your mind after you realized that, oh my, I would have given up my dreams of making it in football, but I'm reaping rewards in track and field. So why not?
Yeah, it's an important part of my story, because I think for any young athlete, if you do not find success early in your career, I mean, I see it every day. Sometimes the athlete is encouraged, they become discouraged and they quit. I think a lot of young Jamaican athletes probably go through that too. You're
Right.
star champs, and now you're kind of thrust into the senior world, and you don't get the same results, and you're like, well, I'm not sticking around for this, because all I do is win, and now I'm like 6th or 7th, or I'm not making the final, and it's like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I think for me, because I had that little bit of history there, winning the first World Under-20 double, that sort of solidified in my mind that I was as good as I thought maybe I could be. It's not something that's talked about a lot, but I believed it, because I said, well, wait a minute, I just beat everybody else in the world. So,
and you did it twice.
Right, and I did it twice, and nobody had ever done it. So
Yes.
maybe there's something there. That was that World Under-20 is a very important step in my career, because if I don't do that, maybe I end up doing something else. Maybe I'm out of sports and out of the sport altogether in another couple of months, because I actually came back from a very disappointing Olympic performance in Barcelona in 1992. That was in August. The World Under-20s were in Seoul, South Korea, in that September. So it was a nice way to rebound from a disappointing Olympics.
Right. So which one of them would have been your sweetest victory? The CAC or the World Junior? We know the World Junior have a lot of weight.
World Juniors by several miles. CAC, I mean, I had run against my friend Kareem Street Thompson, but for the most part, CAC, I was kind of head and shoulders above everybody else at that meet. World Under-20s, I mean, Jamaicans are familiar with that meet. It's the best in the world Under-20, and I knew nothing about the meet. All I knew was I was there, and I was one of the favorites, and I ended up winning. But I didn't go in there thinking, well, yeah, I'm gonna go and show them. I just went because my country said, hey, there's a under-20 championship happening in South Korea.
I guess that put your stakes a little bit higher, because I mean, you went to one of the top schools. See, you're actually modeling the shirt right now, putting it in our faces. But I mean, talk to us about going to UCLA, one of the top universities in US.
Well, when I was in Barcelona, I had actually committed to go to UCLA's crosstown rivals, USC.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met John Smith, who would eventually be my coach in Barcelona. He was coaching Quincy Watts, who would win the 400 gold, and Kevin Young, who would win the 400 hurdles gold. That record just got broken literally last year in the 400 hurdles. And I think when I talked to him and he said, okay, so what are your plans? I said, well, I'm going to US. And he said, come over to UCLA. Come with us. If this is what you want, then you need to come to UCLA. And that was it. And I have great memories of my days at UCLA, because I had a coach who was not just interested in how I would do for UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
He knew from the time he saw me in Barcelona at 18, this is somebody capable of having a long and fruitful professional career,
Mm-hmm.
and I am going to coach him as such. I always tell people, I don't think in the 2 years I went there, I don't think I ran 20 individual races for UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
My workload was kept very, very low, so that I could have the career. We know that that is not always the case. Even today with some of these US universities. Some of them, you send talent there and they come back in 4 years and you go, what happened? It's like, well, they got all of the use out of them, and now there's nothing left for the pro career. So it's something that even back then I was very cognizant of.
Mm-hmm. And also, the late training year that you'd have had would have assisted or aided in that as well, because you had a late training age, and then the coach was a bit cautious in you putting in the amount of work. You know what I mean? So that assisted it. All right. So you were the Trinidad record holders. Well, you have records in the 60 to 200 meters.
I have the 100 too. We don't believe any of those times in Port of Spain. It's a fact. It's a fact.
So hold on. Are you throwing shades at Richard Thompson?
Nothing to do with Richard Thompson. But I've had this. Well, it's not a surprise to him because I've had the conversation with him.
Oh,
okay. Know that there is no 100-meter time run in the last 20 years in Port of Spain. It's like Claremont, Florida. There's just certain places where when you see that time, it's like
you start to question it.
Some of those, I think it's one of the Carifta records. There's a Carifta record. I think Aileen Bailey has it, and it's like 11:03. And I'm like, Aileen Bailey ran 11:03 as a junior. I know Aileen, love her. I don't think she ran 11:03 that day, but that's another conversation for another day. But go ahead.
Or it was win-aided.
I know what it is. I know that there's a whole list of people that have their personal best on that track and have never come close anywhere else. There's a bunch of people with personal best in Port of Spain. When you look at their out of Port of Spain personal best, it's like, wait a minute. There's a tenth of a second or a tenth and a half of a second slower outside of Port of Spain than you are in Port of Spain. Let's just keep it real.
Yes. So let me ask you this. Did you call him and congratulate him, or you call him and told him it wasn't real?
No. Don't get me wrong. I coached Richard at one point. Richard and I talk on an almost weekly basis.
Right.
It's not a question of I am fine not being the record holder, but at the same time, it's like, Richard, wait, come on. It's more good-natured ribbing than actual.
Right. Yeah, I understand, man. I understand. I just wanted to get it out, but I know what you mean. I know there wasn't any ill feeling directed towards him. Right. All right. So you right. Coach, you're a man of many hats. I don't even know where to go at this point. All right. Let me stay in this lane. Lane 5. You went into politics. What propelled you into that?
A bit of insanity, maybe. I don't know. Remember too that even though I even though, as you said, I started late, at 30, I was done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I had I had a car accident. A drunk driver hit me
Right.
head on 2 years prior to that. And I was never the same. And I was smart enough, I think, to know that my body had been permanently damaged and this constant rehab and coming back from injury. And I
Right.
never felt right after the accident when I got to top speed. And I knew it. So I was already trying to find the exit. And when the Olympics didn't go well, and I felt like, no, I am not sticking around. I am not going to be one of these athletes that sticks around so long that people go, why is he not retired? Why is
Right.
he tarnishing his legacy? I was done at 30. So that's fine in that I chose when I wanted to retire. But then I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do because I'd never had a job not named track and field.
Right. Right.
So I kind of looked around and I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do. The broadcasting thing had not opened up yet. And I was invited to join the Senate. And at the time, it seemed like, my party was not in power. We were in opposition. And I figured, okay, so people are not going to say, well, he just joined the party to, he just getting back involved to be in power, because I was not in power. I was never in power. I was in opposition. But I felt like I could see how the party could be back in power eventually. The guy who invited me in said he was leaving because I felt like the party would not get reelected as long as he was leading it. Once I joined, he said, before I joined, he said, yeah, I'm leaving. After I joined, he said, I don't think I'm going anywhere. We did not win the election. And I was like, I'm not sticking around for this because I already know how this ends. As soon as he left, they got back into power. They've since lost power again. But at the time, I was really only doing it because I felt like, here's a way for me to actually give back something to my country. But when you get in there, you realize that it's a bit of a show.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a show. But I also realized that I could probably do more without aligning with a party than I could. Because of course, when you join up, you know how tribal politics are in the Caribbean. When you join one party, people go, oh, I don't like him because I don't like that party. So it immediately cuts off almost half the country. So in retrospect, I don't regret it, but I understand very, 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 very clearly that at the time it was something which seemed attractive to me.
Okay, but after that didn't work out, was that the particular time when you started to go to aviation school? Because people, if you did not know, this man is a pilot, certified pilot. People, that you see, when I was doing the research, Atto, I was amazed to know that was a part of it. That's why I was saying, yeah, you wear many hats, So I want you to tell the people how this one came about.
That is actually my first love. Before track and field, before broadcasting, before coaching, I was flying in my uncle's private plane when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I grew up around somebody who was a successful veterinarian and pilot. So my earliest memories of being in America is, come on, we're going to go fly tonight. Come on, we're going to go fly to here, fly to there. So that's actually the thing that I am most interested in. I got away from it when I had my career. I didn't, I never felt like I had the time and so on and so forth. And as soon as I was done with my career, I said, aha, I have the time now to go and get my pilot's license, 1. And 2, it will stop me from missing track and field. So for that time, I filled that space of not wanting to have that come back with going and getting my pilot's license. And I tell anybody, Zanel Hughes is somebody I was encouraging when he was getting his. And I tell everybody, if you have any interest in it, do it. Because even people who have never flown a day after they got their pilot's license that I know, nobody regrets getting it. So I think that what you learn and how aware it makes you of geography and all of that stuff, I think it's worth getting it. So I always encourage people, if you feel like maybe, and you have the means, go and do it.
Yeah, man, that's good. That's good. All right. So politics, track career. We have not even gone into that as yet. But you're a seasoned broadcaster now. How did that came
start my
about?
18th year.
18th year? Wow. How did that start?
once I had retired, I knew it was something I could potentially do. In '99, I was injured and missed the World Championships in Seville, and didn't want to come home. Didn't want to come to the World Championships because I said, Maurice is gonna win and I don't want to watch. And my manager at the time made me come. And when I got there, the BBC said, "Well, you're not doing anything. Do you want to be on our air?" And I said, "Well, okay." Put on my suit, went on the BBC, and a very tough British crowd said, "He's the best thing about the broadcast this week." So that was it. I was able to put at the top of my resume what had been said about me being on the BBC, and that was it. ESPN came next, and then I was still trying to get on NBC, and NBC was letting ESPN groom me. And in 2 years, they brought me on. That was it.
Okay, good. And then coaching. I guess John Smith had something to do with you venturing into coaching.
I think that look, the John Smith coaching tree is doing very well. Quincy Watts, who of course coaches both Mike Norman and Rai Benjamin, who got medals in Tokyo, are doing very well. But the John Smith coaching tree is actually very big and actually has produced a whole new crop of athletes who people are not even aware that coach maybe came from the John Smith system. I think when you've passed through John Smith, he has such an eye for detail that you're going to have the ability to possibly do it if you're interested in it. But I don't think that it's an automatic that if you were coached by John, you necessarily want to coach. I did it because I saw an opportunity to contribute to Trinidad and Tobago on the women's side, which I didn't know how else in life I could do that. Trinidad and Tobago have still not won an Olympic medal on the women's side in any sport. So when Khalifa St. Fort's father came to me and said, "Hey, will you coach my daughter?" I thought, okay, well, I don't really coach, and I'm kind of busy, but let's talk about it. And when I found out her mother is from Trinidad, it was like, okay, done. That's literally what got me into the sport, because I said, now I can help to I can help the fortunes of the women's team, and the women's team has done pretty well since then. They still don't have the Olympic medal, but they do have some World Championship medals now.
But since as you touched Khalifa Senford, I was watching that young lady and I saw a lot of potential from character days, went to the World Juniors and she did well. What transpired? She just quit, stopped doing track and field?
No. She's still in the sport. It's a combination of things. I think when as women get older, and I think that they look around and they have to make an assessment of, are they happy? And what makes you happy at 18 does not necessarily make you happy at 22 and 23.
True.
I also know that I am not in some ways I am easy to be coached by. In other ways, I am not. One of the things that I am a stickler for is you are going to do everything you can to be in the best shape possible. So if you are not doing that, you're always going to butt heads with me. I don't think you can ignore the rise of Briana Williams in my camp, because other people could see it coming. I couldn't. I felt like, no, I coach these two people. It doesn't matter if one is looking better than the other one. It doesn't matter if one's potential is greater. I mean, anybody with two eyes could see that Briana was coming when she was 12 and 13. But I think once Briana started to become the star of the group that she turned into, everybody don't process that well. I had my moments with being in a group with Maurice Green and with others. So I think if we're being honest, that it became a little hot to be in a group with Briana Williams, because Briana Williams was a high school sophomore, running 22.50 and winning World Under 20 titles and rewriting a lot of the record books, including the high school record. So I still have pictures up of Khalifa in my house, in case anybody's wondering. It's not one of these things where it's like, I can't stand her and whatever, and you wish her badly. No, it's a case of, I don't know that every decision I made in my early 20s was the best decision, but you have to live with it.
Right.
She has moved on. She's with another coach. She's with Lance Brauman up in Orlando. And if it is that I was the problem, then we'll see more from her. And if not, then we won't.
Right. And talking about Briana, the folks in Jamaica, they have been questioning your coaching acumen if you are the right person for Briana. You're not paying Briana a lot of attention because you are on NBC
Right.
and such the like. And they are saying that a coach's presence makes a difference. I want you to tell the folks or answer those questions that they would have been asking about, because they said they wanted Brianna should leave a camp and go MVP and go somewhere else. But what probably they are not looking at is the progress that Brianna has been making. And as we can see now, she started off the season with a personal best over 60 meters. So talk to the folks, coach.
I believe that, listen, I have been an athlete. I am now a broadcaster. I understand very, very clearly
Mm-hmm.
the world that I live in. Sport is about opinions, right?
Absolutely.
When Brianna came on the scene, she wasn't very highly regarded because Kavona was going to inherit the earth and there were other people, Ashanti, right? Nobody paid any mind to Brianna because Brianna was there with the idiot Trini and he don't know what he's doing. And it's good to have her as backup, but she's not going to be the main because, you know, look, she's a little short and she coached by him and he's on TV. So we're not expecting anything of Brianna. Except if you look up, Brianna has improved every single year. There's certain things that, and what's funny about the call for Brianna to join MVP, I'm like, you all are literally asking Brianna to go and join some place where people are leaving.
Mm-hmm.
The last two Olympic champions have now left. Now, I have high regard for MVP, but clearly all is not right over there. So I think that's a very interesting choice. As far as me and my time and NBC, none of these fans know how much time I spend with Brianna on a weekly basis. So, as I said, sports is about opinions, and quite frankly, every opinion about Brianna so far has been wrong. As long as Brianna continues to improve, I think she'll be fine. And here's the thing about me. Coaching Briana Williams is not going to go at the top of my resume. So if it gets to a point where I find that Brianna is not improving or I don't like the direction she's going, maybe she's not listening to me anymore, I will be the first one to say, Brianna, I think you should go here, or let's find a way where you can move in a different direction. Because with Brianna, it's not like she is just some athlete. Brianna is like family to me. So if it is that Brianna suddenly can't set personal best, or she's not improving, or whatever is the critique of the week, then I will be the one to go to Brianna and say, because it's not like I holding on for Brianna because, you know, she's gonna bring me this fame or this money or whatever. So I have read with great interest. It's like everything they have said about Brianna, she proves them wrong. She shouldn't have let off the relay because she don't have no experience at that level, except she killed everybody in Tokyo. She was going to lose to how many different people at the trials last year, except the only people that beat her literally went on to win the 3 medals at the Olympic Games. So I read with great interest and sometimes great ridicule what is said. As far as I'm concerned, Brianna has done a good job so far of proving her doubters wrong, because she's the only junior, literally the only junior, that for the past 5 or 6 years has improved every year. So I hear and I read and I go.
But coach, that season opener, no, it looks absolutely brilliant, you know.
Yeah, but as a
Out
coach,
of the blocks, the first phase.
I don't get too caught up in one race.
Yeah, man, I know, man. I'm just saying it's the first race of the season and she looks so well. That is an indicator to me for things to come, but you're cautiously optimistic going forward as the coach.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you for that. But at the same time, yeah, I think when you get into this life, you realize that You can't ever take anything for granted. Briana
Absolutely.
ran 7:20 and she stopped running at 45. And I went,
Mm-hmm.
but then in the final, she doesn't get her start. She kind
Right.
of panics. She runs 7:18. So you see, as a coach, you can't ever get too caught
Right.
up in,
Right.
oh, look at this great work that I've done, or look at this great race that my athlete has run. You really cannot. And
Because
now
the
she's at new lows.
execution
If she
in
still is loaded,
sorry,
who knows?
the execution in the we're running the 7.2 was fabulous. But then she had a poor execution and she ran faster. So I definitely agree with you on that, definitely.
Brianna is capable of running 7:10 right now. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that, if you think that is just the coach being crazy, go back. It's on her Facebook page. Go and look at that 7:20 and you tell me that there's not another 10th there. So as a coach, I know in my head, yes, Brianna looks a lot better because obviously she didn't have the pandemic. She's coming off of a much shorter rest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't ever get, listen, when your competition is literally the rest of the world plus the just locally the 3 Olympic medalists from the 100 meters, you don't get a lot of sleep as a coach because you realize that every day is like, if Brianna is not ready to eventually run sub 10:8, she's not gonna make any teams.
But talking about that sub 10-8, was that in the plan for last season? What would have derailed that?
Um, yeah, it was, but very early on, in fact, early February, she injured her hamstring. And it's the first real injury she's had under me. And then it never really went away. So it made us kind of alter what we were doing in training. I couldn't put her on the turn as much. I really had to say, you know what? I have to mortgage anything that she could possibly do individually to get her on that Olympic team and then get her a chance of a medal. Because if I had forced the issue last year, I feel like she would have been sitting on the sidelines, and I did not want that for her, not in her first year. So yeah, she started last year, 7-1, and it looked good, but she got derailed very early in the indoor season, and it kind of threw a wrench into the plans.
Hold on, I was muted. Yes. In terms of her 200, are you still gonna focus with her on the 1-2, or you're gonna focus on the one, because she didn't have such a wonderful 200 sort of running last season, in my estimation.
She didn't. She didn't. And in fact, I remind her all the time that her personal best is from 3 years ago now. But no, that her 200 was never going to be good last year because I don't think she had the confidence that that leg was going to survive a turn. So as I said, that hamstring and the fact that it lasted so long and it was such a struggle for us to get her healthy. She didn't even attempt a 200 past the trials. And in the first round of the trials, when
Yes.
she qualified, she called me and she said, that leg is not going to survive 2 more rounds, so we have to make a decision. And I pulled her from the 200 immediately. So yeah, the 200 not kind of coming to what it was before is really just because last year that hamstring wasn't right.
But you're in full swing this time around.
This year it looks like a normal Brianna year, and she's
Mhm.
off to that kind of start. Yeah.
All right, all right. Well said. Let me get. By the way, she's the only athlete you have in the camp right now.
No, I also have a 13-year-old Canadian who I am grooming to be the next fastest Canadian, but she's a lot younger. She's about where Brianna was when she
Okay,
started.
okay, okay, okay. And actually, many persons laud you for the way that you would have managed Brianna's upbringing in this track and field thing, and I probably think it was like I mentioned earlier about the John Smith effect on you. Possible how he nurtured you and run you sparingly, take care of you, because the bigger picture was the world's rather than just NCAA. So that was something that probably I would have seen where you'd have taken much care in working with Brianna as you bring her through the the various levels of track and field. So that's a good look. All right, let's take some of the questions from the audience. We have over 120 people watching right now. Thanks very much for tuning in, people. We appreciate you. And Coach, I'm certain there's gonna be a lot of questions, but you know the thing. So yeah, I'm not worried about you answering these questions. So first one from Thunder Juice. I've always wanted to know what happened in the Athens 1997 100 meter. You lined up with a 9.87 world lead, and that's what you ran in the rounds and didn't even medal. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, it's a case of running your rounds with some sense. My coach will take at least half of the blame for this. We had a huge feud at the time going on with Donovan Bailey, and this was like the peak of it. And I guess he and his coach had some kind of falling out and came over to our kind of camp in the warm-up area and essentially said, well, Donovan's not listening to me, so you guys go ahead and win. And we kind of looked at him like, excuse me, you're giving us permission to beat Donovan? And this is the second round. And I think we allow, I call it athletic maturity. We went out there in the second round. This is when you start to run 4 rounds in total. And we just ran too fast. Maurice and I were in the same quarterfinal. We ran way too fast. I ran 987 personal best in the second round. Not trying, but you still ran 987.
Yes.
Maurice ran 990, and we were both cramping in the final. He survived his cramps. I did not. So I actually, in retrospect, probably was stupid for running the 100 because my leg was really cramping badly because it was hot. Really hot is Athens in the summer.
Yes.
And it could have stopped me from winning the 200 a couple of days after, but I decided I had to give it a shot, and the shot was 5th place. But yeah, it was just a difficult time of cramping before the race, and not but I was cramping because I had been stupid the day before running 987 in the rounds when I didn't have to.
Right. All right. This question comes from Toffee Rudy. Briana have a super great start, but top end speed is questionable. You did a very good job with her. Don't you think she needs a bigger camp? Interesting.
Well, again, this is sport. People are watching a 19-year-old or 18-year-old last year, or year before Briana, get run down, and they're like, "Wow, how come she can't?" It's like, show me Shelly Ann, show me any young sprinter running against pros. Chances are that they are especially somebody who starts as well as Briana. They have to figure out the end of the race. Briana will be just fine, and I know that now that she has all the junior records, people are expecting great things from her. I am expecting great things from her too, and Briana is going to be just fine.
Right, and this question follows, I think that would have answered. He's saying, Vibing is saying, how satisfied are you with the effort progressing Briana's pro career?
As long as Briana is improving at the level that I think she should be. You see, I think everybody feels like Briana should be running 10.7 now, and I would ask them, how many juniors in history have ever run 10.7? Because the answer is 1. And she did not make her country's world championship team that year. Briana is being brought along the way that I think she should for somebody of that age and experience. So yeah, there are gonna be people who find she should run 10.6 already, she should have run 10.7 already. The coach don't know what he doing, she should have run 10.8. But the truth is, I know the numbers, and the numbers say that even if you take away the emotion of where Briana is from and how the fans feel and who is her coach, put Briana's numbers up against anybody under 20 in history. There are 3-4 people that have run faster than she has. So it's an irrational kind of, but she should be doing this, because the truth is that she's almost exactly where she should be at this age. That's literally what they know. Go and look up under 20 100 meters all time. There's literally two drugged up East Germans, and Sha'Carri Richardson ahead of her. I think that's it. Maybe
Yeah.
one more. That's literally it. So a lot of this is people, I don't know, it's like I didn't realize that you had to be full Jamaican to coach a Jamaican star. I'm only half, so I don't know. Maybe that's it.
No, I think this question will tell you the answer. Rob Smith is saying to big up to you. You did a great job representing the Caribbean in the 90s. How aware are you of the demand in Jamaica? How demanding Jamaican fans are? So I guess this is answering you. The Jamaican fans are demanding. It's not about you being half or full.
Correct. But you know what? Here's why I actually prefer it that way. Because remember too, I deal with another country called Trinidad and Tobago, where there are no expectations and where they just came from an Olympic Games where they got no medals and everybody just kind of shrugs and goes, eh. So if you're asking me which one I would prefer, to be coaching somebody who is from a country where they're going to watch every move, the questions in the comments are you coaching her short to long? Are you coaching her long to short? These are questions I don't get anywhere else. So I prefer having this kind of scrutiny and
Right.
fire under the two of us because I believe it not will, it already has brought out the best in both of us.
Right.
Listen, Briana didn't just fluke and reach where she is now. Look at what she has done every single year. And when you're looking at that, look also at the things that nobody talks about. How is Briana as an endorser? How is Briana in front of a camera? Because these are all things that I have been doing for 6, 7 years, which you don't get any credit for, and I don't expect to get any credit for. But I think that you have to look at the
The
whole
holistic.
person and what she has been able to do, as opposed to, oh well, we don't like that she didn't. We thought she was gonna run a little faster last year, so maybe it's time to go somewhere else. It's like, okay.
All right, Margaret Wall is saying that it's always a pleasure listening to you. And back to that question about long or short, the training method you use for Brianna.
When she was younger, short to long. Now, long to short. It's
Right.
why I wasn't really expecting her to be running this well this early at 60 meters. But I think because I want her to set a personal best in that 200 this year, as well as obviously have a good 100-meter season as well, I went from long to short. So yeah, she's doing it. She's doing it a little differently, and we see so far that the results look pretty good.
All right, Stan Cranky, welcome to the show, man. He's asking, what are your thoughts on the state of the men's 100 and 200 meters? There doesn't seem to be any dominant sprinter in these events, which the sports seem to have the required level of interest.
The men's 100, I think, is going to go right back to what it was. I think people are forgetting that Christian Coleman is back now. He dominated the last time he was around. He had to go away a while because he missed some whereabouts tests. I expect Christian Coleman to come right back and fall right into that spot. Who is going to stop him? I think Trayvon Bromell, who that was my pick to win the Olympic gold. He fell apart in a way that I've never seen. I mean,
I've never seen it either.
He went into the Olympics as the world leader, and did not make the final. I have never seen that before. So Trayvon is there, but I have to take a step back from him because he disappointed so much in the Olympics. I think Curly is there, but I would pick Christian Coleman 9 times out of 10 ahead of Curly. I think the 100 is going to go back to Christian, and I think the grass is going to, now that he has this Olympic gold medal, I think the 200 is his. So people are saying that there isn't any dominant sprinter in these events. I think we're about to see it. I think Coleman is going to dominate the 100 for the most part, and we're going to see the grass dominate the 200. I mean, the grass is obviously going to have some threats, and so is Coleman. But if you're asking me who I put my money on right now for Eugene in the summer, I have to go with those two.
Okay, cool. And on the female side, let me ask you that question since we're there in Eugene. Who's gonna take that 100 meters and 200 meters?
Oh, I think, like I said, if you ask me to bet, right, obviously the season can change. There's injuries. I mean, none of us had Jacobs winning
the
from
100
Italy,
meters, right? The Olympic.
obviously. If you ask me to pick right now, I'd have to pick Christian Coleman. He's world indoor champion. He's world outdoor champion in the 100 and the 60. And I would have to pick the grass. That's just a given. I don't think anybody would pick Jacobs over Coleman. He's too good a starter and too good an accelerator. But we'll see. But those are my, if you ask me for my early season picks, those are my early season picks.
Early season pick on the female
Very
side.
early season.
Early season pick on the female side.
That's Elaine. It's Elaine. Although Elaine has no world championship medals in the 100 or the 200. Well, not the 100 as far as I know. I have to pick Elaine. Could it be Shelly-Ann? Of course it could be Shelly-Ann. Shelly-Ann has a great record at Worlds. Or maybe somebody else steps up. But right now, I don't see how you could go out. Certainly in the 200, I don't see how you could pick against Elaine, given how dominant she was in Tokyo. Elaine figures it out. The one asterisk now with Elaine is, now that she's away from Frano, are the results going to be the same? But I look at that and I go, well, Shelly-Ann is not with Frano. She's coming off a year where she had two personal bests.
And all these things.
I guess it's possible to leave Frano and still run well and still set personal best.
Okay. Digital Home Tech is bigging you up as one of the elites or GOATs from TNT. You're in the category of York. That's Dwight York, Brian Lara. What say you?
those are my friends. I actually went to high school with Brian. So it's funny that Marshall Montano and Brian Lara and I grew up from very, very young. So the fact that three of us kind of became who we became, whatever that is funny to us because we never thought we would be anything.
All right. Digital Home Tech again is asking, why did you rep Trinidad and not Jamaica?
I think you should rep who you want. I never like the fact that Jamaicans give Sanya Richards-Ross a hard time because she went and ran for America. It's like, it's a personal choice. She didn't take your lotto ticket and go and spend it someplace you don't agree with. It's the way that people here didn't like when Briana, who is born here, raised here, went and ran for Jamaica. And I was like, but how is that your business? That's not your business. She decided she running for where her mother was born. That has nothing to do with you. So with me, I think it's a very personal decision. I looked at the Trinidad and Tobago track and field landscape and I went, well, why is we don't have any medals since Hazley Crawford in 76? I can do something about that. And they went, yeah, shut up. But I did.
Absolutely.
Similarly, Briana looked at what she wanted to do and decided that's where I wanted to run for. So for me, it was never, my mother was in my ear saying, you have the opportunity to run for Jamaica. And I knew that was an opportunity. Obviously, I could have gone and gotten a Jamaican passport through my mother. But for me, I wanted to kind of turn around Trinidad and Tobago track and field. So it was a very calculated decision, but one that I put a lot of thought into.
This person is saying Briana outgrow you.
Well, people who can't spell my name, I ignore. So if you spell my name with an O, then it's like, come on.
That's a good one. All right, Thunder Juice. They're throwing it at you, Atto. Even in the 60 meter, you can already see Briana isn't sinking in her hips anymore. Atto knows what he's doing. Wow.
Well, it's interesting because I had very prominent Jamaicans calling me last year saying, man, you've done a great job with her and you continue to do a great job, keep it up. And then I had, some other people saying, oh, he outgrew. It's like, she's outgrown him. That may very well come. But like I said, we're not listening to Facebook and YouTube for advice. This is somebody who at 17 years old ran 10.94. That has never happened in human history before. So I don't. I see people talking about Stephen Francis. I don't look at the coaching fraternity and go, yes, I know everything. I think I've done a good job given what I have here. But at the same time, my job every year is to ignore the noise and focus on the task at hand.
All right. What are your expectations? Before you answer that question, Brain Jane is asking what is his connection to the University of California, Los Angeles. He used to attend that institution, sir. All right.
Yes.
The
Yes.
expectations.
Still the school record holder in all my events. Thanks.
Yeah, man. That one on screen. Your expectations for Brianna in 2022 this year.
Sub 10.9, sub 22.3, and getting and a lot more I my one disappointment last year is I thought that Brianna would run faster at trials. She always sets a big personal. She loves to run in Jamaica. She always sets a big personal best. And when she ran, I think she ran like 11 flat or 11:01 in the heat. I thought, okay, yeah, she's ready. And then her body never really responded. So it's kind of it's weird because it's not like she was gonna beat the big three last year. But at the same time, I thought that yes, okay, they ran what they ran, but you should have run better. I don't judge her by what other people ran. So I'd like to see her do a lot better at World Championship trials this year.
Okay, great. Somebody is really looking beyond you, because one of the questions is, what does that Tommy Smith photo in the background means to you?
That is a very significant thing for me. So my uncle, the veterinarian who I told you about, who first gave me my love of aviation, he grew up coaching both Tommy and John. So when everybody else had Michael Jordan up in their room or Maradona or whoever, I actually had these guys because he taught them, and then they went off to the Olympics and then they came back. So I wear black socks every single day. Black socks.
Yeah.
If you look at any pictures of me running when I was a professional, you will see me in black socks because I honor them. Because even at a young age, I wasn't too worried about Michael Jordan and those guys. To me, those guys were in it for themselves, even if they weren't. That was just my interpretation of it. I looked at these two guys and I said, imagine giving up your relay spot, being kicked out of the Olympic Games, being shunned, being shamed for something you are in effect doing for your people. So, I mean, obviously I grew up and John Carlos is one of my dearest friends, and he gave me that. And the inscription says something to the effect of to a good coach and a very good good athlete and a very good broadcaster. So it's something that I treasure.
Okay, great. That one on the screen. Somebody's asking if Michael faked that injury versus DB. That 150
I
race.
don't know. I don't know. All I know is every time we have a really big moment in track and field, somehow it falls flat.
Yeah.
It's why I don't like match races. And if I won the lotto tomorrow, we'd be in for a really good track meet, like $1 million for every race. But I would be worried that I would never do it 1 versus 1, because that always seems to create a problem in our sport. But
yes.
I don't know.
All right, Jermaine Miller is asking. I know you have to run, but let me see if how fast or quickly I could get through some more of these questions. Do you think that advanced drug testing make it a more level playing field for smaller nations like Jamaica and Trinidad?
I think it does. I have kind of taken over Brianna's whereabouts and so on because I want to be sure that, she can be absent-minded. She's 19 years old. I know how teenagers think. So I have to go through the process of where is Brianna every night so that she is in compliance with her whereabouts. So I get a chance to really see how they are testing, how often they're testing, they're checking blood, they're checking urine, and more importantly, they're storing these samples. And I think that's a critical thing, because what we know about in the future may not be what we know today. I think you're seeing it really in the field events, but yes, it is a level playing field. I have a lot more confidence in the drug testing now than I did when I was an athlete. And of course, when I was an athlete was the era of Balco and all the other stuff. That's when EPO came to the forefront. So I have a lot more faith in the testing now than I did at any other time in the sports history.
All right. Brianna's biggest challenge that she must overcome to be the best.
I think for Brianna, her challenge of being the best is going to come from her confidence, like every other star junior. Because when you are coming from, I mean, Briana dominated as a junior. And I think you come into the seniors and now, I mean, look at LSU, for example. So you have a good first race and you start feeling yourself a little bit, 7-2-0, shutting down. And then you get third in the final because you didn't execute. Those are the kinds of things that I know, myself being a star junior and then trying to make the transition. You have to never get too down from a loss and always see it as a lesson. You're learning. You have to pay your dues first. I give her the example of Dina Asher-Smith all the time. When Dina Asher-Smith made the transition from World Juniors to being a senior, she was doing well. She's running very close to the times that Briana is now, but it wasn't instant success. She didn't get her world title. Wasn't a factor at Worlds until 2019. You have to pay your dues. So I think that if she is able to manage the gap, right? Remember Bolt being a phenomenal junior and then having to figure it out before, in that space between like 03 and 07. It happens to all of them. And a lot of them don't make it because they get so discouraged or they listen to the naysayers or whatever. She's not good again or whatever. If she can get through that transition period, she'll be fine because the talent is there.
All right. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Grogu is saying, what is your view on intersex athletes competing with female?
There's two things I don't compromise on in our sport. I am referring specifically to once you watch race walking in slow motion, I think you look at it differently. I'll just say that. When you look at race walking in slow motion, you realize that it's not the sport you think it is. That's the first thing. The second thing is I think that there's a big problem with this whole intersex thing. And I don't know that, I'm glad I don't have to sit in that seat of power at World Athletics because I don't know what they're going to do. But I don't think you can watch the last season and just go, oh yeah, everything is fine, because it's not fine and it's not fair. Now, I am not one who likes to blame the athletes in question because I always remember it's not their fault. They didn't do anything wrong. But I think that you have to make some very harsh lines in the sand when it comes to a sport. You cannot have any line, you can't have any deviation with age, and you can't have any deviation with sex. Unfortunately, that is not where we are right now, but we'll see what happens. But no, I am very disappointed in what I am seeing in some areas right now.
All right. Wendigo, thanks for that super chat. Can you share a little bit on how Team TNT is going after the passing of Dion?
The fraternity of people who have won Olympic medals for Trinidad and Tobago is very small. I think we're still under 15. So when somebody who is an Olympic bronze medalist passes, that's not just a loss for Texas A&M. It's not just a loss for the town or the village where he's from. Everybody feels that. I actually got the news first, and I had to go and kind of make sure it was real and then kind of tweet it out to the world. So I spent the first couple of days just sort of remembering him in interviews and kind of putting his career in perspective. It's a difficult loss. And when you come out and don't win any medals at the last Olympics, my concern is obviously for his loved ones and for his family in the immediacy. But I think long term you realize that 4x4 is also going to they're going to miss him because he was so good on that relay as well.
Certainly, good, very good relay runner. Somebody's challenging you. Christian Coleman will not dominate.
Okay.
And
the same Christian Coleman who in the last 2 World Championships got silver and gold. We want to bet against him. Because see, this is why you can't listen to fans sometimes, because they bring the emotion. They're always going to bring the emotion of what they think or how they feel. I'm going on the numbers. Christian Coleman just turned 24, 25. He's literally coming in his prime. I'm not saying he's going to win every race, but I am saying you can hold me to that prediction. Maybe it doesn't happen immediately because he's been out for 2 years. But Christian Coleman is going to be the dominant sprinter in the 100. 200 is a different story.
The rhetoric of having a training partner, you think that will help Briana in pushing her?
I would like This is one where I agree with the fans. I think Briana needs a training partner of equal ability to push her. But again, I also know of many other situations. Tina Asher Smith comes to mind, Mondo Duplantis, or they say, oh, it's a different event. The truth is, there I can point to you people who are world champions who have no training partners whatsoever. I can show you people who come out of a camp where there's 20 people and nobody won medals. So I think people kind of go to these things. It's like, so Briana didn't need a training partner before when she was running times that we literally have never seen. So in that case, it's one where I think it's something we are actively working on, but I don't think it is this death knell for your career if you don't have a training partner, because I can give you evidence for and evidence against.
All right. Sean Ellis, the person who asked the question about long to short, he's saying if Briana run long to short and PR in her opening race, the world in a trouble, boss.
If I was a fan, maybe I would say that. As a coach, I'm like, let's wait and see.
He's coy, people. He's very coy at this
moment. Yes, she looked very good. But again, it's one thing as a young athlete to run a certain way when nobody is next to you. The eased up 720 came with she knew she had cleared the field. It's one thing to run like that when you're clearing the field. Can you run that way with people around you? It's a 60. Everybody fast, everybody starts well, just like you. So I am positively encouraged by how she started. She we barely got in the blocks the week of that race. So I know that there's more to come. But I ain't want to say world in trouble just yet. I leave that for the fans. She had a very good start.
Too early. Yes. What's your take on Christine Mboma?
Well, I think we kind of just touched on that, right? Something is going to happen. World Athletics is going to have to do something. And listen, I have lots of friends, including Frankie Fredericks of Namibia. I know that they celebrate her as they should. But I don't think that being what we went through with Semenya and what we've seen with some other athletes who've been forced to go in other events, I just feel like at some point, World Athletics is going to tell Mboma, you're going to have to move up in distance, because I do not think this is a fair fight. And I'm not saying that because I coach a young female. I'm saying that because I watched the Olympic Games. I watched the Diamond League circuit. I just feel like, wait for it, something is coming.
Right. Searching through some questions again. Jason Guna is saying, I know your brother Bob very well. Okay. My question is, why did he never get into the sport as an athlete as well?
I have a daughter who was athlete of the year and then decided, she was like, that last name, I don't like it. I hate people like always bringing you up. I get it. A lot of the times when there's somebody prominent in the family who does that one thing, everybody kind of turns and runs in the other direction because they're like, I'm not going to be him. So, this is not a Josephus Lyles and Noah Lyles thing where they're both kind of, at least close in ability. My brother was good, but I don't know that he was world class. I think he'll be the first to admit that. So, it's different strokes for different folks.
All right. Somebody is saying, thank you for coaching my girl. You know this person, Sterling? I guess you know this person.
Hey, I think you have to take the kudos and the criticism, right? So yes.
Which one is this Briana's mom?
No, that is definitely not Briana's mom. Let me share with you a story that has never been told before. I'll give you guys the story first. I looked up before Briana was about to leave for the Olympics, and I went, oh my gosh. You still there? I think we lost you for a second. Okay, you're back?
Because you're telling a story, I just put you on center stage.
Oh, sure. Okay, sure.
Okay.
So I looked up 2 weeks before Briana was supposed to leave for Tokyo. And I said, wait a minute. Brianna's never run with the professional team. She's never run with the seniors. And she didn't run that much as a youth, and she didn't run that much as a high schooler. Maybe she ran 2 or 3 times on the Carifta team, one of which they got disqualified, even though it wasn't on her leg. And I went, oh my gosh, if Brianna is called upon to lead off this 4x1 in Tokyo, I have to get her a little bit more ready for the pro ranks. And I said to myself, what is the one thing that is likely to happen with Brianna on a lead-off leg in that pressure cooker of the Olympic heats and finals? And I said, you know what could happen? Maybe the person she's handing off to leaves early. Let me teach her what to do on the pro, at a pro level if somebody leaves early. And I forgot about it. It's like we did it. It's actually she and her mom did a lot of the handoffs, just kind of standing still, and I explained to her why you do a certain thing to cause a certain effect. So imagine me now watching the Olympic final, and Brianna takes off, and Elaine leaves a little bit early, and I go, but Brianna remembered her training, and she called reach early, which slowed down Elaine, and they got the pass off. That's the kind of thing as a coach I can deal with all this stuff that's said, because I know what I have done with this young lady and what she has been able to do at the age of 19, and I don't doubt my ability to get her to where she needs to be, and I also don't doubt that anything she is ready to go through, I've already been through. That is my real confidence.
Pristine is saying you're the best commentator ever on NBC. Big up yourself. So you hear the good comments coming in. Wisdom again is saying, Atto, you are the only reason why I watch NBC. Thanks for your professionalism and honesty when commentating. All right. Would you be able to be? Do you think you could have beaten what's his name, Donovan Bailey?
No, I mean,
if you run a 150.
For 150, that's a different animal. I think once you go past 100, Donovan was very vulnerable. But look, that's why we have a clock. That's how we have a clock. That's why we have a clock. Donovan ran 984. I ran 986. So there's your answer.
All right. Vibin is saying, how humble and how hungry has Brianna remained for success since her night deal?
It's a very good question. Brianna signed the largest deal for somebody coming out of high school by far. So of course we kind of had our ears and eyes looking at her like, okay, you give somebody this much money, she has her own house, she has a car, she's very, very comfortable. It's actually a conversation that she and I have on a continuous basis regarding her training situation, with why she has to continue to remain hungry, why she has to continue to remain humble. I have to tell you that a lot of people, my parents included, said to me, just watch it, because it's just human nature. You get that kind of money and you have that kind of, leverage. You start to achieve your dreams, just be careful. Brianna works harder now than she did when she was a junior. Because I think that the other side of that coin, which nobody talks about, is like, yes, she's gotten all this thing, but here's the thing that nobody talks about, and they should. Brianna has had just enough of a taste of success where she goes, oh, I want it so much more now than I did when I was a junior. When she was a junior, she could see it, but she couldn't really touch it, right? It was like, oh, look, Shelly Ann, look, Elaine, I look up to them. Now she's on the team with them. Now she has her own Olympic gold medal. It's a completely different Brianna. And not only that, Brianna is well aware of, when I go for the trials, it's Kemba, it's Ashanti, it's Sharika, it's Elaine, it's Shelly Ann, it's everybody. It's Kavona. She understands that she runs for the most competitive country in the world when it comes to the 100 meters. So I don't have a problem with looking at Brianna going, oh, look, she have money now, or she have this, or she have that, and she's not performing. Brianna works she works harder now than she did before. She's proved a lot of people wrong, maybe even me.
Okay. This person, Ray Stewart, I don't know if you know him. He's saying, what up, Atto? Reach out, Ray Stewart. I have an input, something that can help. in getting her top end better? I leave it up to you. Your call. Big up. Well, I guess it's somebody that you know.
I reach out. Listen, I have the reason why Briana is where she is today is because I do not sit on some kind of perch and go, I know it all and I have figured it all out. I will send video to of Briana to people who I respect in the sport and say, I'm seeing something here. Are you seeing the same thing? What do you think about this? So this is a process which always has open doors. I believe that as a coach, the minute you figure you know everything, and you as a coach, the minute you figure out you know everything,
you're in trouble.
That's the end. It's the end of your career. So yeah, you better believe I will be reaching out to Ray to see what he has to say.
Okay, cool. Everton is saying Shelley has a bye in the 100 meter this year. The slots, 3 slots are up for grab. You have Kemba, Morrison, Ashanti, Kevona, all those fine athletes. How do you motivate Briana to be the one that takes that 4th spot?
Well, Briana doesn't train to get 4th. We didn't go into last year saying, oh, go and get 4th and that's how you're going to be on the team. And quite frankly, we don't train for any one person. If we had trained, Kemba didn't get 5th last year at the trial. So it's not like we're training and saying, oh, we have to keep Kemba off the team, or we have to keep Natasha off the team. You train to win the race. Now, if you have 3 people that beat you and you end up 4th, it is what it is. But it's not, I don't have an issue motivating Briana, and Briana is not motivated by any one person or thing. She really is trying to get better every day, but she understands how fast she has to run to make that top 4. Remember that she didn't go into trials last year as the 4th seed. She was the 5th seed, because ahead of her were Elaine, Shelly Ann, Sharika, and Natasha Morris.
Yes.
So I have enough confidence in how Briana is coached that Briana never has a bad race when all the chips are on the table. That's why when everybody was worried about her in Tokyo leading off, I went, you're going to see. That girl she is not intimidated by the moment. So we don't train for any one person. We know we have to bring it every year when you run for Jamaica.
Right. Sean Ellis again. Big up Sean on the super chat. This man loves track and field now, Atto. Donovan Bailey, Michael Johnson, and yourself. A list on a 150 race. List them 1 to 3. Like you're not there.
None was not beating me at 150. And I don't
None
think
of them. Not even Michael Johnson.
150, so.
Not even Michael Johnson. He's a beast over 200 meters.
You go and look at the Atlanta 1996 race and tell me where Michael Johnson is at 150. Because the truth is, forget me for a second, even if you take Michael's 150 in that race and put it in historical perspective, the only people ahead of Michael at that point, potentially, are Bolt and Blake. And that's it. And in fact, the way Bolt ran his 19.2, he hasn't even caught Michael yet. He'll maybe catch Michael in the last 10 or 15, if you can believe that.
Right.
Because if you look at his splits, no, it's only 2 people ahead of Michael at that point. So this thing where don't sleep on Michael Johnson because he's been retired for 20-something years. He is still, number 3 all time.
Okay. If you were to run that 96 100 meters again, that final 10 times, you think you'd win it?
Boy, we do a lot of history lessons today. I don't know. I would like to think that if they don't call that start back, which seemed to be close, that I win the race. But you have to be careful when you do things like that because, I mean, what you're doing, revisionist history. It's like, suppose Jordan misses that shot against Cleveland. It's like, it's fun to think about, but that is not something I concern myself with too often.
Okay. J.M. is asking if you're in contact with your biggest track rivals from the 90s, Frankie Fredericks, the Namibian.
Oh, yeah. What's funny about that is that I don't know how close. Me and Frankie were always close. Michael and I, have become friends since retiring. Frankie and I have always been close. Spoke to Maurice Green last week. Spoke to John Drummond last week. Dennis, I consider a friend, even though he's coaching people who I coach against him now. Yeah, for the most part, almost everybody I ran against, I am on good terms with now, which I think is the way it should be.
Yes, absolutely. This man goes by the name Mr. Special Edition. He said he met you in Florida on the turnpike when your Tesla broke down. You remember that day?
Yeah, it broke down because I had a flat. I had a
Yes.
flat, and so he must be a police officer then, because I think the only person that came to me at that point was a cop. Yeah, but it's the one time that car broke down. But good to see you, Mr. Special Edition, and thank you.
All right, cool. And Michael is saying that story that you told a while ago gave goosebumps, man.
Really, that. Listen, it it's not something that anybody would have known if I had not told the story.
Mm-hmm.
But for me to know that in that moment, something that could have gone horribly wrong for that team was fixed by something that I thought could possibly be an issue, it makes that lead off leg and what that team did so much more satisfying for me. I find myself watching that race a lot just to see the joy on their faces. I love the post-race interviews where, I mean, we know that Shellyanne and Elaine have had their differences. To see the other three women on that interview talk about how much they wanted to get a third gold medal for Elaine, that gives me goosebumps. So
yes,
I really enjoy it.
Jay, he answered the question, man. Yes, man. Frankie Fredericks, they have remained friends, and he's in contact with them. Now, if David Scott is coach, if you're not commenting, then now watch it.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm selecting questions, people. I apologize for that, but I can't go through all the questions. I want to go as quickly as possible. So if yours is overlooked, I apologize. It's nothing personal, right? I know Atto wants to go. He gave me a allotted time, and we are over it. So it's
Keep
basically
going,
up to him.
man. Extra time, overtime. Keep going.
All right, good. Now who was the person? Black Prince, I want you to send your question again, because I don't want to pass it. All right? So send back a question, Black Prince. I'll ensure that I read that one. What are your thoughts on Kemba Nelson, coach?
Kemba Nelson is one of the reasons I don't sleep well.
Oh, wow. Little
Listen,
Shelly.
what's that?
Little Shelly.
Little Shelly. She has a lot of Shelly in her. I think it's the only person her age who I look at and go, I was like, Briana, you think your starters all that? Kemba is a equally gifted starter. In terms of just pure reaction to the gun, if she and Briana lined up 10 times, it'd be 5-5. But again, I don't really train for any one athlete. I am high on Kemba. I am high on Kevona. I'm high on Ashanti. I am high on Natasha Morrison. I don't have the privilege of saying, well, she looked good this year, but not this one, and she looks better this year. Because if you go into any championship with that thinking, you're going to be in the back. Because now you're trying to say, oh, I'm going to keep this one behind me or keep that one behind me. No, you go in there thinking, run a personal best and see where that puts you. So I'm never going to go into a championship with Briana thinking, oh yeah, we have to get third or we have to get second. It just it doesn't make any sense.
Okay. What about Tina Clayton, the world champion?
well, Tina, I think everybody could see coming. So what she ran last year was not really a surprise to me. She has been looking like that kind of athlete since her early days running against Briana. So yes, add her to the list of all the names that I just called, because I'm like, Briana, yes, you check your front, your windscreen, but you also have to glance in the rearview mirror too. And she knows. Listen, I used to use the Clayton twins a lot with Briana, because I would say, listen, if you're gonna set this Jamaican junior record, set it low, because them Clayton girls are gonna come get your record. So we have always had this kind of like wink, wink. Don't think that there's not somebody coming who could go through your record. So yeah, Tina Clayton is an immense star. And big up to Edwin Allen and their coach, Coach Dyke, for what he continues to do.
Yes, yes. Um, what's your view on why some of the most dominant sprinters has Jamaican heritage even when they don't run for Jamaica?
Boy, that's a whole nother show, you know. So I did my DNA testing, and I did it recently. There was a guy who came to us about 25 years ago when I was at UCLA, and he traced my DNA to Trelawney,
Mm-hmm.
where my mother is and my mother's people are from. And you realize that not only, I mean, obviously you have that fast twitch gene, which you can trace to the same place in West Africa, but you realize that a lot of those, the descendants of those people ended up in Jamaica and ended up in the Caribbean. So yeah, when you understand the science of sprinting, that is one component for why Jamaica has done so well. But I always say that the much bigger component is the culture of sprinting. If you show me a country where from the time people are born, you put a table tennis racket in their hand and they learn how to serve, you end up with China. If you grow up in a country where the steeplechase is the thing that you do, you end up with a dominant country like Kenya. And when you grow up in a country where champs is king and the track athletes are the most popular people on the island and they have billboards and they have commercials and they are feted, then of course a young talent in Jamaica wants to grow up to be a sprinter. So I think that people maybe forget that part of it. Jamaica is unlike almost any other place on earth because its track and field athletes are the biggest stars on local soil. So I think
Yes.
that's something that you can't ignore.
All right. Do you think athletes change camp because they believe the coach gets more credit than they themselves?
I think that's a reason a lot of athletes leave. But I, as a former athlete myself and somebody who obviously covers the sport now, that is almost never the case. And sometimes you read the newspaper and that's what you get from what you think is happening. That's not often the case. That's not often the case, and I don't think it's the case with any Jamaicans. If we want to be specific.
Right, right. When broadcasting for NBC and seeing Brianna compete, how hard is it to remain composed?
It's the most difficult thing that I do, and I'm going to have it for the next 2 weekends. I don't think any of them were worse than watching her in Tokyo, because you look at this young woman, and you go, Jesus, she is literally out there on an island by herself. She has to start well, she has to run the turn well, and she has to hand off this baton. So my most difficult one is watching her when it's a really big meet, whether it's Olympic trials or the Olympics. But apart from that, my focus is always do the job first. It's like as a pilot, they tell you something go wrong, or if you're concerned about something, fly the plane first. That's how you survive. For me, at NBC, we kind of dance around. We don't dance around the subject. We will say, hey, and in lane 3, there's Briana Williams, who's obviously coached by our own Ato Boldon. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. It does give me extra nerves, though, I have to say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But coach, tell me one thing though. How do you manage not to be there? Because she has trials, you probably send her, and most of the conversations might be video call at the Olympics and so forth. Do you have somebody who travels with her and allow her to follow that strict routine that she has to?
I think this is another one where people are seeing one side but not the other. Because occasionally I have a meet that I cannot get out of, like the Jamaican Olympic trials, and I cannot. Yes, there's an era of technology where you can do FaceTime. I watch her warm up. I talk to her in the exact same way. But I will say this and I will leave it alone. You cannot look at one aspect without looking at the whole. Briana benefits mightily from having me as her mentor, I think, because there's certain things that she has access to that nobody else does. So it's almost a case of you have to take the good with the not so good. We are actively working on things for that, and NBC has actually let me out of certain things where in the future I can be right next to her instead of having to do it by via FaceTime.
Okay. Chris Lynch is asking what happens to Saint Ford. Saint Ford that's Khalifa. She's back in the sport, and she's actually training with Lance Brahman in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
All right, Sean Ellis again. Big up yourself, Sean Ellis. I think he's saying Kemba utilizes short, explosive steps out the block, good start, but poor finish, versus longer strides that gives you a better push to the finish. Kemba has to change that tactics to see Briana.
The fans have spoken. I don't look at that and take that as gospel. Because I know that when you have a young athlete, as a coach, sometimes you are struggling to have them have that breakthrough, which doesn't immediately come. So I know that the coaches at Oregon, everything that he's saying there, they probably know, and that's why you see Kemba running so many 200s, because they realize that she has to be able to sprint a little longer. Even if she focuses only on the 100.
All right. What's your thoughts on Cam Sturgis?
She could be the real deal. I think that for all the Sha'Carri talk, I would not be surprised to see her emerge as another American threat. She's young. I think she has to learn how to compete on the next level. But I watched her last year. She ran that 10-7 windy. Anybody who doubts that young woman is capable does not know her coach and did not see that race last year at NCAA, because you can't just dismiss it and say, oh, well, it was a windy time. It wasn't that windy. It wasn't that windy. I think it was like a 2.4, and she ran 10-7 mid, 10-7 low. So I think that I don't think we've seen the end of her. We know that a lot of times they have NCAA stars who don't go to the next level, but she's too young and too good for us to write her off already. I think wait and see. I would not be surprised to see her emerge.
All right. Somebody's asking, why did Briana stop doing the jumps?
I have never seen Briana do a jump. I don't know what they're talking about. Briana was long jumping when she was like 10 years old. But in America, they put you, like, if you do the discus at a meet to get 3 points, they put your discus PR. So I think people may have seen that and gone, oh, but she used to long jump. Briana's a very gifted athlete. I don't know if she's a long jumper.
And you don't want to know.
No.
While coaching her.
No.
All right.
I know how much long jumpers get paid, and I know how much sprinters get paid. Briana's a sprinter.
Creme de la creme.
Yeah.
All right. BM is asking, why did you stop coaching Khalifa?
I didn't stop coaching Khalifa. Khalifa left. We kind of discussed it at the top, so I won't go into it too much. But I think Khalifa was not expecting Briana to emerge the way she did. I also think that when you become a young woman, you feel like you want to have more control. And because she was with me as a youth, there were certain things. It's not unlike what you're hearing out of MVP. Yeah? Young women decide at certain points that they want more control. It's almost like a Janet Jackson thing. And I think Khalifa looked up and said, I don't want to have this coaching environment anymore. And she left. So it's not a question of me. I didn't stop coaching her. She came to me and she said, I'm having, what specifically was said to me? She came to my house and she said, I'm not enjoying it anymore and I need a break. And I said, fine. And then the next thing I saw, she was in another camp. So she took her break and then she decided that she did not want to, she didn't want to train at home anymore. She was at home. She was sleeping in her own bed. Maybe she felt like she needed to be more uncomfortable.
All right. Do you think the world record is beatable?
In which event?
Female.
Yes. Look, it was one thing when everybody was running 10-7. Elaine is now within 0.05 of a second of the world record.
And that's not far.
The World Championships are in Eugene. We know what the times in Eugene look like when it's a big race. I think the world record is gone within 24 months. If not this year, next year.
Okay. Would you consider coaching any of those young ladies' names that you mentioned in specifically Kevona Davis?
Well, Kavona has a coach who I respect greatly. It's funny because that it's funny how stuff comes and goes. I remember seeing the article in the papers. Kevona needs an Ato Boldon, and I remember thinking, "Whoa, wow, that's
Oh yeah, I
unexpected."
remember that
Right,
article.
but the gist of that article had nothing to do with times, you know. I think
Mm-hmm.
people were looking at how Briana came on as an endorser and
Right.
how she does her interviews and how little she runs. And I think that was attractive. I am open to coaching anybody that fits in my camp. I really don't have a preference. I would love to have um, the new Trinidad and Tobago star. You have no idea how many direct messages and emails I get on a daily basis. Hey, I've seen what you've done with Briana. Will you please consider coaching? But it doesn't fit. It usually doesn't fit. So I am selective and I am picky, but I think that's a good thing given all that has to be considered.
All right. Kevona was trained to win champs. Brianna was trained to be a professional. That's what Rob Smith is saying.
You see, so a lot of people are writing off Kevon again. That would be a huge mistake.
Mistake, yeah.
It would be, and you're a coach. You know, it's like it's. I know that this is a what have you done for me lately sport,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that the fans realize how many people they have probably pushed out of the sport
Mm-hmm.
just by writing and saying negative things about them online. Because I think that whether or not the adults don't care. I don't go to Facebook for my life advice. I'm not who I am in life by listening to
Mm-hmm.
what Facebook says. But I think that there's a lot of athletes who would have probably been going through that transition that we talked about, and because of what they see and hear, they decide, no, I don't want to
Right.
exist in this space. It's not a place for everybody.
Absolutely. And I would say it's sports in general, because once you're
Yeah.
in the public sphere, then you're going to be up for scrutiny, and not many persons can deal with it mentally.
Yes.
That's the tricky part. So I definitely understand what you're saying. And not
Yeah.
many people, not many athletes, because they have a small, you'd say, tolerance level or space, if you want enough
Yeah.
a better word.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on Black Prince's question. It's not forthcoming. And I any final questions from anybody coming up? No, I've not seen. Travis Winfield, I think he has answered the question about the women's world record already. Bolt or Carl Lewis?
Both by several miles.
Okay. Who is the greatest of all times?
Again, both
Bolt
by
by.
several miles.
Thank you very much.
Listen,
Thank
it's not, you don't have to knock one to salute the other. It's like, okay, who do you knock now? Who is the greatest ever? Shellyanne or Elaine? Because I can actually argue both sides.
Exactly that's
I
what
can
is.
argue both sides. So
Mm-hmm.
this thing of the truth is that when you look at Bolt's resume, there's nobody with that resume. Not Alison Felix, not anybody. So to me, Carl didn't even repeat as 200-meter Olympic champion. So the argument goes up the door there. I revere Carl for what he did in the long jump, and I am old enough to know how good Carl was in the 100 and the 200. But I think
Mm-hmm.
to compare him to both is almost like, for my money, it's not even close.
Um, Someone is asking, what is the relationship like with Carl Lewis?
My relationship with Carl, you know what's funny? While I was competing, I was always talking about him, because when I came on the scene, I realized, oh, Carl Lewis is incapable of giving anybody a compliment not named Carl Lewis. He went after Michael Johnson, he went after Donovan Bailey, he went after me, he went after Maurice, and I realized, oh, it's nothing personal. Anybody who comes up and is getting any bit of shine, Carl don't like it. Since
Mm-hmm.
then, Carl and I actually have been fine. I saw him. I saw him somewhere recently, and we were very cordial. I think like everybody else, you kind of realize, well, we said whatever while we were competing, but those days are long, long, long gone.
All right. The Everton Jackson, I didn't see that one. Send it back before we close off. We're close to closing off. Very close. Claudine H. Briana Liston, what do you think about her potential, coach?
I got to see her run a lot, and I thought that maybe if she is handled carefully, she has the potential. She should be mentioned in the same breath with Ashanti and Kivona. I just don't know that it has happened for her yet. But I'm a believer that talent is always going to come and blossom if put in the right situation. I'll give your listeners this kind of an example. Jasmine Camacho Quinn, right? If you saw her at Kentucky running 50-point relay legs, you go, my gosh, she's talented. And then for a couple of years, she's kind of out
Off
there.
the radar.
She's not doing anything. What did she do last year? Undefeated Olympic champion. There's a bunch of people in Jamaica, including juniors, male and female, who I think have the talent. It's just a question of, man, if this situation works out right for them, that's it. So I don't look at people, unlike the fans, a lot of the fans, I don't look at somebody and go, they ain't run nothing in 2 years. That's it. Did both have 2 years when he didn't do anything? Of course he did. Of course he did. Did I have to? Nobody talks about my 1993 and 1994 years. You know why? Because I didn't do anything. I was World Under 20 champion in 2 events. I didn't do anything. I was figuring out the pro level. By 95, I was the youngest medalist ever in the history of the 100 meters. That's obviously since been surpassed. So I believe in giving young people time to figure it out. The fans maybe, don't feel that, but they're like, no, she should be running this or he should be running that. Sports doesn't happen that way most of the time. It's going to happen when it happens. It doesn't always happen in the time that the fans think.
All right, Anthony. Anyway, I don't see the first part of your question, but I'm gonna add. He's making mention of Shericka Jackson. Do you think that she made the right switch to run the 1-2? And if she goes back to the 400 meter, you believe that she can run 48?
I actually discussed this on the track at practice not a month ago.
Okay.
Shericka is I think that Shericka, for somebody who's already run 10.7, she is just scratching the surface of what she can do. So in my mind, even if Elaine retired tomorrow and Shelly-Ann retired tomorrow, Shericka is not going anywhere. But to your point about the 400, we were talking about Shawnee. And if Sawa Idnasa comes back and she's running 48 low, if we can see the duel between those two push them to 47, and I said to the person, I said, what about Shericka?
What about Paulino?
10 and 21. What is she? She has natural, the 400 is her natural, it's like Fred Curley. She has natural 400 strength. You take that speed and take it back now to the 400, that is some scary, scary times that we're looking about. So yes, I have said that specific thing to somebody recently because I think that Shericka is kind of the most dangerous person in the sprints now because she's shown that
her range is long.
But she can also go up and run the 4.
She has a longer range than the others.
She does.
Herself and Shawnee Miller. Prentice is asking, what was your most satisfying race?
Most satisfying race ever is probably the relay in 2001. That's Trinidad and Tobago's first relay medal in the 4x1 Olympics or Worlds. I just felt like nobody believed. I've been world champion in 200. I skipped the 200 because I saw an opportunity in the 4x1. I usually see things before everybody else. And I went to everybody and I said, I will coach this team, I will captain this team, and we are going to win a medal. At the time, Darrell Brown was 16, Mark Burns was 17, and JC Harper on that team, I think, was a little younger than me. I was 26. I was the old man. And we watched everybody. That was the Worlds where I think one of the Jamaicans did not Christopher Williams did not see the incoming runner. He was looking up at the scoreboard. You remember that? You remember that
Yes,
incident?
yes, yes, yes.
That was that Worlds. I sat and I watched all the big teams drop the baton, and then we eventually crossed the line third, and the United States got disqualified, and we have the silver. That is my most treasured experience on the track, because not only did I see it coming, but everybody was like, "You're going to run the 4x1 with Trinidad and Tobago that has never done anything before." And I said, and with those teenagers, and I was able to do it. So if anything, maybe that was when the coaching bug really bit me.
Okay, cool. What are your thoughts on how Nike treat Elaine Thompson winning gold in Tokyo?
I'll give you guys a little bit of inside information.
Mm-hmm.
If you think that Nike did not treat Elaine well after Tokyo, you would be right. You know who also knows that they did not treat Elaine well after Tokyo?
Mm-hmm.
Nike.
Who?
Nike also knows it.
Okay.
Nike also knows it.
Mm-hmm.
I will just say this. When the pandemic happened, Nike sent home a bunch of people who know track and field and who know the sport. And I think you see, people only look at it from the perspective of a fan. And I get it. That's all they should know. You have people now at Nike who I think were looking from a lot higher up. And they saw people putting Sha'Carri in rap songs. I have 5 songs on my playlist now that have her in the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
And people were looking at how big her following had gotten. And now they finally have an American who is moving the needle in sports in America. And I think they got it very wrong. And they know they got it wrong. Because I have heard people within that organization say that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they are going to recognize that they have to have people who understand track and field in positions of power there. And I think they are going to do right by her. But I too felt like it was way for somebody who had the season that she had, broke the Olympic record, ran those times, did something that literally nobody else has ever done in human history. Yes, she had absolutely every right to be a little miffed at her shoe company. I certainly would have been if it was me.
Even that Prefontaine run, the interview, he interviewed the person that came down the track, and they said that there were, another video was there, but up until now we haven't seen that video.
Correct. Now, this is an NBC question. I can tell you because I work at NBC. We went way too early to Sha'Carri. Nobody else has ever gotten last place in the history of our network and been interviewed. And we have you see, I know that people see me through the Trinidad and Tobago lens or the NBC lens or whatever lens. The lens that they should see me through is nobody loves the sport more. So trust me, when I'm in the booth and I see Sha'Carri being interviewed, I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we interviewing her? Not because I have anything against her, but it's like, a girl just ran, a young lady just ran 10:54 and you're interviewing last place. We are better than this. So we have made some changes. There were reprimands. There were people who actually lost their jobs over that. And we will be better.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. But it's also sad to know that persons had to lose their job in this scenario, because it was
listen,
plain inside for even the fans to see that you couldn't do that.
This is a very difficult business I'm in. I know people look at TV and they go, talking about track and field, I could do that. It is not what you think. It can be a very demanding job. You have to deal with the whole world. You have to know facts and figures and politics and stories. Occasionally, we are going to get it wrong. And I was really upset that we got that wrong, because I'm like, we can't get the big moments wrong. In my business, if you get the big moments wrong, yes, your job is on the line, and it should be. You can't get the big moments wrong. You get something wrong in the first round. Oh, you misspelled, you say this name wrong, or you got the time wrong. I cannot be wrong when Bolt is on the track. I can't be wrong when Elaine or Shelly is on the track. I can't be wrong when Carsten Warholm is on the track. So yeah, somebody needed to get fired because that was atrocious.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Gunner for Life wants you to make the case of GOAT for Shelly and Elaine.
Elaine is the greatest ever, because what she has done at the Olympic Games combined with her personal best times, and I think the fact that, well, not the fact, my guess that she is going to eventually have the world record means that there's no category in which you can say, well, Shelly has her beaten. Now, I can make the case for Shelly Ann by saying 4 world titles and nobody has the consistency over this length of time, because the one knock on Elaine is her world championship performances. And you can say her Achilles, and we know that her Achilles bothered her in between Rio and Tokyo. But we're not dealing in what ifs. I am dealing in what have we seen since Elaine emerged in 2015. She's been flawless at the Olympics, but you can knock her a little bit for what she has not done at the World Championships, which means that I can make the case therefore for Shelly Ann, who has equal number of, now not 200, 200 that's gone. 100-meter goat, I can make the case for Shelly as well.
But so in order for Elaine to kill this argument, she has to do a pretty decent job winning double medals at Eugene this year.
She don't even need to do 2. She gets 1 gold medal. To me, she's gone past Shelly Ann for me. If she gets another gold in Paris, forget it. She's both now, because now she's done 3 in a row, and nobody's done that. Nobody's even done the 2 in a row double. So no, if Elaine, to me, that's why I think Elaine will eventually get past Shelly Ann. If you have Shelly Ann ahead right now, for some people Elaine is already ahead because the Olympics are everything, and look what she did. But to me, if Elaine starts to dominate and is able to keep Shelly Ann behind her for the next however many years that Shelly Ann sticks around, it's not, you can't even have the argument. It's almost like Carl and Usain.
All right, this question was answered already. Yes, it can be broken by Elaine brain drain. All right. Did I don't know if I should read this question, you know.
Read it, man. We're free.
Did the person that interviewed Sha'Carri got fired?
No, because that's not his job. In other words, you may see Lewis Johnson doing an interview. Somebody in a truck has to decide while all the chaos is happening after the time who we're going to interview. I know that we had a problem because Elaine was not anywhere near our cameras and she wouldn't come, and we had to fill that space. But I don't want to make an excuse. The truth is, you go and you get her. No, the person who did the interview was not fired, because that's not his call. They're going to him regardless. They may say go interview Sha'Carri. They may say go interview Shelly. May say go interview Briana. That's not his job.
Okay. So where the instruction is coming from?
Right. That's a production decision. That's not announcers. That is not interviewers.
All right. Somebody asked the question if you would invest in youth track and field in Jamaica, like, you know, clinic or, you know, an academy of the sort to develop young sprinters.
I think Jamaica has a wealth of coaching and talent, and as I said, the system. But specifically, when you start to talk about clinics and so on, that is part of what is in Briana's contract. She is going to be in Jamaica a lot more than she has been, but literally she signed the contract in January and COVID happened. So you're going to see us, and you're going to see her, even without me, doing a lot more things in Jamaica to kind of find the next one to keep the machine going, because Briana knows, even though she didn't run champ, she knows very well that the talent is always going to be there. But I think Briana also looks up at the men and she goes, look, the men are in a little bit of a slump and we don't want that on the women's side. So Briana is very aware of where she fits in the whole Jamaica universe, trust me.
Okay, and Brain Jane again with that super chat. Thanks so much, Brain Jane. Can Sherika become the best in the world?
Yeah, and not only that, she can do it in 3 events. I think if Sherika starts to figure out the first part of the race in the 100 and then just runs more 200 and then goes back to the 400, it is not inconceivable that we can have, and somebody mentioned in the chat and they're right, she could be like Shawnee, and she's the only one, I think, besides Shawnee right now, who could lead the world at 100, 200, and 400. That is rare air, but I would not bet against Sharika being the best in anything, because what she did this year is not. I know it's like, oh, she only got bronze. It's like, yeah, it's a quarter miler stepping down and being third in the world. That's amazing.
All right, another one from Brain Drain. Other than himself, which is you, who is the best sprint coach?
Stephen Francis. I don't consider myself. Why would I consider? I am starting my 18th year of broadcasting. Nobody who's in their 5th or 6th year of broadcasting is going to broadcast better than me. So I don't, you see, that's the funny thing. I don't look at Stephen Francis or Bobby Kersey and these guys who've been coaching as long as I've been alive and go, oh yeah, I'm as good as them. Not even a question. To me, what Stephen Francis has done with Asafa Powell, with Bridget Foster, with Melaine Walker, before we even start to talk about Shelly Ann, with Tajay Gale.
Yes.
Before we even start to talk about what he's done with his most prominent clients, who of course would be Shelly Ann and Elaine. Yeah, he's the GOAT. That's not even up for discussion, in my mind.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Warholm and Elaine, who had the better year and why?
Elaine, she did it in 2 events. She did it in 2 events. To me, that's always the tiebreaker, and it's why I wasn't concerned about her when it came to the World Athletics voting, because I think the voters look and they go, I thought the only person could beat Elaine for Athlete of the Year is Safan Hassan, because I felt like, well, she has 2 golds and a bronze, and that was going to put her over the top. But I think breaking the Olympic record put Elaine over the top. Carsten and I actually talk on the phone maybe every other week. He and I somehow have become good friends. Elaine, because she does more than one event. That's just the answer to the question.
But would you say that it's the first time a man has ever run that fast in that event? And Elaine would have produced what someone possibly would have done already?
That's a different question. If you're asking me who had the better year, Elaine ran 2 events.
2 events and dominate.
Won the double that had never been done before. If you ask me what is the best performance for the year in 2021, I think you have to look at the shot put for men. I think you have to look at Sydney McLaughlin, and then we can start to talk about Elaine and so on in that same conversation. But I think you look at world records and things that have not happened before. And to me, the best performance of the year is Carsten Warholm. But best performance of the year versus best performer of the year, I make a distinction.
Okay. This question from Flavor Max TV. Do you think having the same coach as Maurice Green hinder you from beating him, as I thought you were the better sprinter?
Could be. When you're in the bubble, you don't see it. But it could be. Maybe that's the case. I don't know that we'll ever know.
All right. Gabby Thomas is not to be taken lightly. What say you on that Jamaican rather?
Jamaican, yeah. So somebody has figured out that she has Caribbean roots. Yes, she does. No, I don't think anybody is writing off. I don't think anybody would write off Gabby Thomas, but it is so difficult right now. That women's 200 is so competitive because, I mean, remember that this year we had an injured Dina Asher Smith. Elaine obviously dominated. We have Mboma. Talu is always there. That's such a competitive event. I don't think that that anybody's gonna take Gabby Thomas lightly. But at the same time, that 200 meters event is probably as hard as the 100 right now.
Okay. Do you think every coaching camp should have a sports psychologist to support with athletes' mental health issues?
Yeah, I think what we know now about about sports psychology, we realized that probably my generation didn't do enough of it, and maybe this generation doesn't do enough of it. Now, I am a believer that, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But I think in my 6 or 7 years coaching, I realized that these athletes are going through so much more than we know. And the one thing that they have to deal with, which no other generation really did, maybe the one a little bit, the one before them, is this issue of social media. Because that having that constant flow of good, bad, or indifferent into your brain when you're getting ready for something big, I think, that should be a given.
All right. Brain Drain is asking a question. Did you participate? Yes, he participated in football, and it was playing football that they realized that he should not be playing football. His coach just took him away. Elaine has mentioned her injuries hopefully remains injury-free and continue to dominate. All right. Sean Ellis is saying 45.9 for 400-meter hurdles beats them all. Best performance I've ever seen since Kevin Young's 46 back in the day.
Yeah. I agree. Like I said, it's the performance. It's the performance of the year, and most of the critics agreed.
All right, Pagan is saying Mboma and Masalingi for future sprint queen. Big up Namibia.
We'll see.
Do you think, Warren Webster is asking, do you think the 300 meters should be added as a race in the world of athletics?
No, we have enough events.
Yeah,
we have enough events. I'm fine with the 1, the 2, and the 4. I don't think now, because now you create an event, it has no history.
Exactly.
So it's like the mixed relay. I was a big proponent of the mixed relay, and now I'm like, because it hasn't really delivered on the excitement.
You mentioned the Clayton twins already, that they are very talented and they are to be watched.
No question.
So apparently some folks are just coming in. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Coach's Desk. We appreciate it, you being here. And we thank Atto for stopping by with us. People, when we talk track and field, we just talk and talk and talk, because Atto said he was going to give us 1 hour. And look at us now.
But look at your fans. I mean, good, bad, or indifferent. Even the ones who cussed me, the ones who lauded me. At least you have interaction, and that to me, as somebody who does television, you want an audience, and your audience tonight has been fantastic.
Absolutely, we appreciate that. All right, so any final thoughts that you'd want to share with us before we close off this stream? Just talk to the fans. And anybody want to shout out or stuff like that. We know that you have your platform to do that on a worldwide platform, but you're here, so we're giving you the opportunity.
Well, my new show is coming to Amazon in the next couple months, so I will break that news here. I have a deal that just got closed with Amazon, so it's coming soon, and look out for it. I really feel like I got to reconnect with Jamaica, because you have to understand, my mother has been laughing at me for years, because while I was busy being Mr. Trinidad and busy sort of building myself into this broadcaster and track and field super fan, she used to say to me, you cannot be who you think you are in track and field if you do not go to Champs. And I didn't know that much about Champs. I knew it was a high school meet. I knew it was popular and all that. And I remember her trying to describe Champs for me. When I eventually went to Champs, I came back and I went, okay, Mom, now I understand. But I never saw myself as, in any way, shape, or form, ever being able to contribute anything to the land of my mother's birth. And then Briana came along. And in the same way that I jumped at the chance with Khalifa St. Fort, I went, who would have ever thought that you would be able to contribute anything in the direction of Jamaica? Right. So to see Briana do what she did at Carifton at World Under-20s and now becoming the youngest Jamaican gold medalist, it almost makes it worth it having to listen to the Peanut Gallery every week, because the satisfaction that I have derived from watching this young lady go from relative unknown, not known back home, not very highly regarded, as I said at the top of the show, right, and now to see where she is, and now having that expectation. You know, they say that pressure is a privilege. That's how I see it. I don't see it as, oh my gosh, how do you work with everybody saying that, she's not running this or she's not running that and she hasn't done this yet and she hasn't done that yet. And I go, pressure is a privilege. I look at that and I go, look at all these people with expectations. That is not different from the rest of my life. You think when I start at Amazon show, we don't have expectations. You think when I go on NBC for the 18th year that I'm not expected to lead a broadcast team? I am. So that is the space in which I function best. So when people see this pressure and they talk, it's like, that is the only world I know. I've been a world-class sprinter since I was 18. So my thing is, bring it on. But I think that people at the end of 2022 are going to be singing a different tune than they were at the beginning of 2021, because I think that we have Briana in a direction now and in a mindset now where she's gotten enough of a taste of it, where she is going to produce. And I think the initial races this year sort of indicate that she's ready for the next level. Maybe not at the pace that everybody else thinks, but Briana is making the necessary steps to become to make that transition.
All right, wonderful. So people, there you have it. Wonderful one-on-one with Ato Boldon. Very good sports broadcaster. He had a tremendous track career. He's a pilot. He dabbled in politics, which didn't work out for him. And we're happy because possibly wouldn't have him as one of your favorite NBC broadcaster. He's a coach.
Can I take one? I see one question and I want to address it.
Sure, go ahead.
Somebody just asked if Atto is saying that Stephen Francis is in his estimation the best sprint coach there is, why doesn't he send Briana there? It's a very fair question. But it implies that I could send Briana anywhere. Briana has to want to be coached by a certain individual. So it's not that I am saying, no, don't go there, like a lot of other coaches. Briana has free will. The minute she's ready, she can go anywhere she wants. But I also know Briana, and I know she was raised on this side of the Atlantic. So a lot of the things that I think have come out lately, Briana don't want no part of that. You know what I'm saying? So I hear, well, she should go to... How do you know that that's where Briana wants to go?
Yes.
She does not. I can tell you categorically, she does not. So maybe that is probably... I'm not saying that eventually she doesn't end up somewhere else. None of us knows what anything is going to look like 5 minutes from now. But I am telling you that we laugh at how many people say, but she should join MVP. It's like, does she want to go and does she want to live in Jamaica? Does she want to join MVP?
I doubt that she would want to even live in Jamaica.
Well, here's the thing. I think there's more of a chance of her wanting to live in Jamaica than her wanting to join MVP. These athletes pay attention to what happens to the athletes they look up to. Briana grew up revering Shelley Ann Fraser-Price and Elaine Thompson, both of whom have left. You think she hasn't noticed that? So I think that I continue to hear that and I go, what, like, are you all looking at this properly, or are you just looking at it from, oh, well, I see this and I think that? It's like...
But again, I would say the fans will always be the fans, because they're looking for something that the coach and the athlete are seeing from a different lens.
Like I said, I would rather have fans expecting everything than fans who pay attention to track and field once every 4 years. I know which side of the fence I would prefer to be on.
Yes, all right. So congrats on your big move with the Amazon deal.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, and we're happy that you broke it here on the coach's desk. Big up yourself, Sir Ato Boldon. We appreciate you taking the time out to be here on this channel to interact with the Jamaican fans, both home and in the diaspora. And definitely, you could have said no, but we definitely appreciate the fact that you said, yeah, certainly, we'll do it. And we made the arrangement. Really, really appreciate you. And definitely we appreciate the fact that you came over on this channel. Yeah. So big up yourself again. Thanks very much to all the viewers who tuned in. And you also made this stream a very wonderful one yourself. You came with the questions, you didn't back, and I must apologize for not reading all the questions. Don't take it personal. Because because some of the questions really and truly were like a repeat questions that you would have answered already. Some of them I was going through fast because I knew that the time restraint that we had. So forgive me, people. And if all things equal, definitely we'll get back Coach Ato Boldon to be here with us on the coach's desk. So enjoy the.
This has been tons of fun, and like I said, you're the real star. I mean, no disrespect, Coach Minzy, but the real star here is your audience, because they're not just. It's not just every question is not just big up Atto. I mean, there's thoughtful questions. You're doing long to short,
right?
Short to long.
Right.
What about her top end speed? Why is she getting? These are questions from people who understand sprinting. So big up to the audience.
They were reasonable questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Reasonable. All of them. Yeah.
Right. So again, thanks very much for tuning in, and we will end with the style and flavor. See you next time.
Your style and your flavor make the city rock. They must say the season come out with a bang. Coach Minzy, best round here. Remember that.